Good evening. You're watching the 7 o'clock English news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Before the United Nations, the Sultanate stresses that the state's policies is based on balancing between the requirements of the modernity and originality. Jabal Ghushabi rainfall station in the Wilaya of Liwa is completed. Two Palestinians are killed and 30 people injured in a fighting with the Israeli forces in Jerusalem. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. The Sultan's government stressed that the state's policies are based on balancing between the requirements of the modernity and originality, development, economic resources, sustainability, human and environment preservation. It came in the Sultan's speech, which was presented by His Excellency Ambassador Sheikh Khalifa bin Ali Al-Harthi, Sultan's permanent representative to the United Nations, during the ministerial meeting of the Sustainable Development organized by the UN. His Excellency added that the government is working to adopt the economic and development policies with the requirement and goals of the Sustainable Development 2030, explaining that the main goals of these policies are not to provide better quality life, are to provide better quality life for the Omani citizens. Within the Sultan's plan to compete building artificial rainfall stations in a number of governorates, the construction of the rainfall station in Jabal Al-Ghushabi in the Wilaya of Liwa in the governorate of North Batna is finished recently. Oman Artificial Rain Center clarified that the station will cover the wilayas of Shinas, Liwa, Buraymi and Mahda. Artificial rain stations in the Sultanate helps to enhancing rainfall in the governorates, which are available with the climatic conditions for the process of ionic stimulation through draft winds and higher band of humidity. According to studies, the rainfalls had increased in the Sultanate by 18.5% during the previous years, especially in the areas where the artificial precipitation centers are established. The strategic station location and international trust, which has made the Sultanate the focus of the global economic investments and flocked various economic and industrial zones, the special economic zone in Dukhum have the highest share from these investments, benefiting from its various facilities and distinctive geographic location. Establishing the economic zone in Dukhum came according to modern and updated technical specifications for global free zones, with availability for expansions in the future, which meet the economic requirements at long term. Al-Dukhum city is one of the blessed Renaissance achievements, which aimed to develop and improve Omani human life in various fields. Still to come in our news bulletin. The real attraction for fans on the routes of Tour de France is not only to watch the riders in person, but not to miss the caravan too.
حرارة الصيف وشمس حارقة تبعث فينا المسير، مهللة البشرى بمبسم الطفل وأصالة الإنسان، لتختلط بادية الرمال بالواحات الغناء نحو نسمات بحر وشلالات عين ماء، بين الجبل والسهل تزهر البسمات. يطيب لها الزائر وتستمتع بها العائلة. من رسوخ العادات قمم شامخة، يجتمع عبق اللبان وطيب الكرم. مهرجان صلالة السياحية 2017 من 30 يونيو إلى 31 أغسطس 2017. عمان، الرخاء والنماء.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Clashes erupted today between Israeli security forces and Muslims protesting against installation of metal detectors at a Jerusalem Fleshmont shrine, holy to both Jews and Muslims. At least 2 people were killed and 30 people had been hurt, 2 seriously, and some suffered from tear gas inhalation. Meanwhile, Israeli police said they were barring men under 50 from entering Jerusalem's Old City for Friday Muslim prayers as tensions rose over new security measures at a highly sensitive holy site. The rare measures came after Israeli ministers decided not to order the removal of metal detectors erected at entrances to the Haram al-Sharif mosque compound following clashes with the police a week ago. Tensions have risen after police installed the metal detectors in a move Palestinians and other Muslims perceived as a means for Israel to assert control over the site. Turkey's president has called on Israel to remove metal detectors from the gates of the contested Jerusalem holy site. Recep Tayyip Erdogan spoke to Israel's Reuven Rivlin yesterday ahead of planned mass protests today by Muslim worshippers over security measures imposed by Israel at the walled shrine. Rivlin's office says he assured Erdogan that Israel would maintain the status quo at the shrine, addressing Muslim fears that Israel wants to expand its role there. The walled shrine in Jerusalem's Old City, known to Muslims as the Noble Sanctuary and to Jews as the Temple Mount, is at the heart of the decades-old Middle East conflict. British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson said today that the country stands with Japan in efforts to rein the North Korea's nuclear and missile development program, and called on China to help bring Pyongyang back to negotiations the world powers. Johnson met with his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida in Tokyo in a joint news conference. Kishida said that Johnson had promised to give consideration to minimizing the impact of Britain's looming departure from the European Union. Johnson, who was mayor of London when the city hosted the 2012 Summer Olympics, also met with Tokyo Governor Yuriko Koike. He praised the city's preparations to host the 2020 Summer Olympics and advised Koike to shrug off criticism. A powerful earthquake sent buildings crashing down on tourists on the Greek holiday island of Kos and struck panic on the nearby shores of Turkey early today, killing 2 people and injuring more than 100. Rescue authorities said 2 men from Turkey and Sweden died in the collapse at the White Corner Club when the 6.5 magnitude quake struck, rattling Greek islands and the Turkish Aegean coast in a region where seismic activity is common. Gargantuan hill climbs, bullet speed descents, magnificent scenery. The Tour de France has it all, but for many, the real attraction for watching the cycle race is in the riders themselves, but the carnival-like convoy that precedes the caravans. Here is a report.
France, a country of endless landscapes, tradition, tranquility. But every so often, that tranquility is disturbed by the Tour de France. Ahead of the peloton is a convoy that throws out food and trinkets to the dedicated fans that line the roadsides. They call it the publicity caravan.
What's unique about the tour is that people on the side of the road come for the caravan as much as they do for the riders. You must remember that they're by the side of the road for 6 hours and the cyclists pass by very quickly, whereas they see the caravan for half an hour. That's what I think they enjoy. It's a vital part of the Tour de France. It is the Tour de France.
170 vehicles take part in the 12-kilometer-long procession. For over half an hour, 35 brands drive past fans, throwing goodies into the crowd. For Aurélia Janssen at the ASO group that organizes the tour, the commercial benefits of the caravan are obvious.
It's the biggest direct marketing operation in the world. Here samples are handed out directly and we reach the customers straight away. And we have the Tour de France audience, millions of people that stand by the side of the road every day, so it's really impressive.
One of the most successful floats is Saint-Michel, a French bakery brand whose products include the very popular Madeleine cakes. Each year, Saint-Michel hands out over 3 million of the cakes over the course of the race, which works out to around 100,000 a day.
I've been doing the Tour de France for 6 years, and I never get tired of seeing people on the roadside cheering us on and welcoming us. Like the small children here yelling thank you. Honestly, it's amazing.
Millions of people make the pilgrimage to watch the riders in person every year. But the faithful aren't just there for the race. Nearly half of them admit the real attraction is the caravan, cementing its place as a must-see of the Tour de France.
And now for the near the forecast around the Sultanate, cloudy skies prevail over the coastal areas of the Governorate of Dhofar and its nearby mountains with chances of intermittent drizzles. Rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies and winds will be southeasterly light to moderate. Seas will be slight to moderate with a maximum wave height of 1.5 meters. This is the Sultan of Oman television. Before we enter tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Before the United Nations, the Sultan stresses that the state's policies is based on balancing between the requirements of the modernity and originality. Jebel Al-Ghashabi rainfall station in the wilaya of Liwa is completed. And 2 Palestinians are killed and 30 people injured in a fighting with the Israeli forces in Jerusalem. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin from all of us here in the newsroom and the studios. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Good night.